Hello, and welcome to the nonprofit world, where we highlight organizations and individuals passionate about empowering people to make a difference in the lives of others, serving in our community and around the world. I'm Paula Sorrells-Bean, your host for today's program. And with me today, I have Father Tom, back by popular demand, and we're going to talk today about the Kateri Medical Clinic. So welcome, Father Tom.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing me back.
You're welcome. So glad to have you here with us again today. And would you tell us again a little bit about your background? I know you're retired now from what you've done for years. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so for 32 years I was ordained in the Episcopal Church in the United States and was pastor of two different churches over 32 years. So in Trinity Church in Terriffill for the last 18 years, and prior to that, St. Paul's Church in Huntington, Connecticut. Okay. So I did that for full-time for 30 years and then part-time now for 2 years. I now am a part-time pastor at a small church in Trinity Church in Wethersfield. So I haven't quit entirely pastoring, but I'm working there part-time now. So, and then 16 years ago, we began a partnership with the Anglican Church in Nigeria. With the American Episcopal Church as part of the Anglican Communion, which is a worldwide family of churches comprising about 80 million people. And so we began this medical mission 16 years ago in Diocese of Kaduna, Nigeria. And we started a small medical clinic there, which has run every day, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day for the past 15 years. And we have largely funded that for the last 15 years. I've raised all the money to run that clinic every day, and we have a couple of doctors, about 5 or 6 nurses there, one midwife, a couple of community health extension workers, and others, that pharmacists and chemists, to do the ministry there. So we've run that clinic, as I said, for 15 years now, every day. And then from that clinic, we also do mobile clinics out into the rural villages around the clinic to reach people who can't or won't come to the medical clinic. So the mobile clinics in the rural villages are meant to serve people at a very basic need, and then the clinic in the building where we have it is meant to serve a higher level of need, medical needs and so on. So it's a primary health care center, but it does a lot more than we can do in the mobile clinics in the villages.
And how often does the mobile unit go out?
A couple of times a week they go out. A team of doctor and maybe 2 nurses goes out to each of these villages. And we see we have 8 or 10 villages, so each village gets visited about once a month when the weather's good. In the rainy season, it's impossible to get to some of these villages because the roads all are underwater. So as nearly as we can, we try to get to these villages about once a month to bring basic medical care, very basic medical care to people in the villages, and then the really bad cases, we refer them back to the main clinic. The main clinic also it's right on a major highway, so we get people, lots of road accidents on that highway, so about on average 2 people a day come into that clinic for road accidents. You know, they're all mangled up and they have to be sewn back up and whatnot.
So do you have an emergency room set up, or is it just as it occurs, it becomes an emergency room? It becomes
an emergency. Sometimes it's an emergency room, sometimes it's a birthing room, sometimes it's, a child fell down and cut his leg or something. It's all of the above. It's a small clinic, but we do a lot of work. We focus on quality, not quantity. So,
yeah. And are those are local, the staff there, the doctors, the nurses?
Everybody's local.
Local,
yes.
Okay.
And then we bring people from the United States and from all over Nigeria for once a year. We now have 3 clinics built and running 365 days a year. In just 1 month, we'll be opening up our 4th clinic. So in each of our full-time clinics, we run them year-round with Nigerian people who work there. And then 1 week out of every year for each one of the clinics, we have an intensive medical mission where everything is free. It doesn't cost you a penny to see the doctor. Normally we charge the equivalent of $1 for a child and $2 for an adult to see the doctor, because people respect what they pay for, and also we need to take in some income to support the ministry. Also, we normally 51 weeks of the year, the people have to purchase their own medicine. We have a pharmacy, but they have to pay for it because we cannot afford to give out free medicine all year long. It's unsustainable. But for 1 week out of every year at each one of those 3 clinics, we have a free 1-week medical mission where everything is free. You don't have to pay the doctor. We get volunteer doctors from all over Nigeria and medical people from the United States, usually nurses, not doctors. And we all come and work for free for 1 week in each of those 3 clinics. And typically we see usually 2,500 to 3,000 people each week on those free medical outreaches.
Amazing.
And we have a team of maybe 40 or 50 people, medical people and support people from all over Nigeria and from the United States. And so we're able to see a lot more, help a lot more people in those 1 week clinics because we have so many more people working there. And again, they're all working for free. They donate their time for that week to help people. So,
Now, I know we talked about this in the previous interview. Excuse me. How do you get the people from the United States to go over there?
Okay, so we recruit people here. Mostly it's from churches. We speak in churches and we advertise on Facebook and our website and word of mouth, but we try, and we have several friends who are doctors and nurses who have gone, and they talk to their co-workers, their colleagues about what a good experience they've had, and they encourage their friends and co-workers to join us also. So
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
so it's mostly word of mouth, and we, like I said, we speak in churches, we do fundraising events in churches, and so whenever we're there, we show a little video about what we're doing and say, if you'd like to join us in one of your medical missions, we'd love to have you join us. That's kind of how it works.
Great.
And I would say 95% of the people who have joined us on these medical missions are people we've met in churches. They're church people, basically.
Okay.
A small percentage don't have a church affiliation, and we welcome them too. We'll take anybody that wants to go. Yeah.
Great.
So.
Great. Now, I know about your fundraising event that you have every 3 years because I've been a part of that.
Yeah.
Gladly participated in that. Would you tell us a little bit about that and how people might be able to get involved or be a part of that?
Okay, so once every 3 years, we do a big fundraising event where we usually get a couple hundred people to come to these events, and we have a speaker, usually somebody from Nigeria, that tells about what our work is all about, and then we invite people to make a 3-year pledge to support our ministry, and we've done that since 2002 was the first time we did one of those fundraising events 16 years ago. That's how we got started with this medical mission. So the people make pledges a typical pledge is $1,000 a year for 3 years. And we get enough people making that pledge that funds that's the main source of funding for our clinics. And we have other events where we do music concerts, for instance, and invite people to support us that way also. So anyway, anybody who would like to be involved, if you go to our website, which is www.katericlinic, KATERICLINIC, katericlinic.org, they can find out everything they'd like to know about supporting us or joining us for one of our trips or
Wonderful.
whatever.
Yeah, great. We've talked about getting the volunteers to come, and then also your staff, your doctors and nurses that are there on site every day.
Yep.
What are some of your challenges of getting people to come to the clinic?
Okay, so there's all kinds of challenges to do with that. Our goal is to serve poor people. You may not know, but Nigeria is in the news a lot, usually for something that's not good news, but anyway, they're in the news a lot, and a lot of people have a perception that Nigeria is a relatively wealthy country, and to a certain extent that's true in the context of sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria now has the largest GDP, gross domestic product, of any country in sub-Saharan Africa. It has the largest population, about 180 million people. And it has some fabulously wealthy people. Fabulously wealthy, have their own private jets and all that. However, it has the highest rate in percentage-wise and real terms, of people living in absolute poverty, which is the United Nations definition of absolute poverty is less than $2 a day. The highest number of people in all of sub-Saharan Africa, it's almost 87 million people live in absolute poverty. That's 46% of the population. So these are the people we're trying to serve. We are not trying to serve middle-class people or rich people. They have their own resources. We're trying to serve the nearly 50% of the population who lives on less than $2 a day. So, because that's who we're trying to serve, you have to see this whole healthcare thing in the context of poverty. So, just for example, somebody lives in a rural village. Rural village means there's a road to this village of some sort. It's very bad, gets washed out when it rains. If you drive out there in a four-wheel vehicle, it has to be one that's up high with four-wheel drive, because it just won't make it out there. The roads are so bad. A poor person living in one of these villages, and everybody's poor in these villages. It's not like they have a middle class. Everybody's poor. They're subsistence farmers. They're people that go out by the sweat of their brow and with a little hoe this big. They don't have tractors or mules or anything else. It's human labor tilling the soil with a little hoe about that big with a handle that long, bent over like that. They farm. They grow enough food to feed themselves and sell a little bit at the market to get enough money to buy clothing and whatnot. So these are the people we're serving. People are just living on the edge of survival. And because of absolute poverty, going to see a doctor is a very challenging thing. So our clinic, which is the only one for miles and miles and miles around for thousands upon thousands of people, if you live in a rural village, first of all, you have to think, okay, how am I going to spend my very limited amount of cash that I have? So if I need to go to see a doctor, let's say my baby's sick. To see that doctor in that clinic is going to cost me probably about $1 to get somebody to take me on the back of a motorcycle, because motorcycles are poor people's cabs, or poor people's transportation in rural areas. So this person who lives in this rural village has to come up with the equivalent of about $1 to get on the back of a motorcycle with a sick baby and ride over terrible roads for maybe 10 or 15 miles to get to the clinic. Once she gets to the clinic, we have to charge her $1, the equivalent of $1, for seeing the doctor. Once she sees the doctor, if there's medicine required, she needs to go spend maybe $2 or $3 to buy the medicine that's needed for the child's illness. So right now we're up to maybe $5 or $6. Now for those of us who live in the United States, $5 or $6, your baby's sick, what's the problem? The problem is a lot of them don't have $5 or $6. Maybe they have $3, you know? Mm-hmm. So somebody in that situation has to decide, okay, do I spend every penny that I have to get on a motorcycle and ride over terrible roads to take this sick baby to see a doctor? Or do I pray to God that the baby's just going to get better all by itself? That's the calculus that happens. Another problem is traditional healers. So in the rural villages, there's always somebody who's a traditional healer, what we would call a medicine man, or in the Yoruba language, they call him Babalawo, which means the father of mysteries. Or in the Hausa language, it would be Malaam, which means teacher of religion, or something like that. But anyway, these are traditional rulers, traditional healers that have certain magic potions, magic incantations, get some chicken feathers, some dirt from the ground, say the right words, drink this potion, and you're going to get better. And some of their traditional things actually do work. So for instance, there's a particular bark of a particular tree that if you take the bark off and make a little tea out of it, it does really work to fend off some kinds of malaria. So okay, if you're in a poor village, you're a poor person in a poor village, your baby's sick, you have to make the calculus. Okay, it's going to cost me $1 to get to this remote clinic, and I'm not sure I trust the people there. It's going to cost me $1 to pay the doctor, who I'm not sure I trust. It's going to cost me $2 or $3 or $4 for the medicine that I'm not sure I trust, and my baby's sick. However, for 50 cents, I can go see the medicine man in the village. And, you know, my mother was dying last year, and the medicine man gave her something, and she lived, so maybe that's a better option for me. And I'll have $3.75 left over, or whatever, you see? So that's part of the calculus. And then the other part of another problem is that a lot of these traditional people just don't trust Western medicine. It's not part of what they've learned and lived with for thousands of years. So it's an education process. So our doctors tell us, for example, sick babies, they come with malaria, dysentery, typhoid, and other things, that, you know, the people usually bring them when everything else has failed. When the medicine man has failed, when all the traditional cures have failed, they're at the end of their rope and they can see this baby's dying. They bring it to the clinic, and by then it's too late because the baby's too far gone, you know. So it's a process and it's a slow process of educating people about the need for seeing doctors and getting the right, trusting doctors, really. That's what it comes down to. So it's a slow process, and the doctors are very frustrated by it. You ask them, they'll all tell you what a frustrating thing it is, you know, but that's what we do. And, you know, when babies, contrary-wise, when a baby goes on death's door and the doctors are able to save it through medicine, that tells a big story back in the village, you know. See, her baby lived, so, you know. But it's this kind of thing. And so another thing that we try to do is, as I said earlier, we send out the mobile clinics to these villages. The doctors go to these villages once a month, so to break down this fear of doctors and to help them see that there's a better way to treat these diseases. And so, for example, when the doctors go to the villages, they always have large quantities of malaria medicine because that's one of the main problems in the villages, you know. And then they can diagnose other problems and try to get the person to bring the child or whoever to the doctor at the clinic if it's a more serious thing. So that's kind of slowly breaking down the built-in fear and hostility to doctors. But then there's the poverty thing too, which is also a problem that just isn't going away. It's just a difficult thing. So,
yeah. Now we talked earlier also about childbirth.
Yep.
And the challenges of being able to help when a mother is delivering a child.
Yes. So one of the things we try to do in our mobile clinics is see expectant mothers and tell them the things, and give them some little sheets that tell them things to be careful about in terms of getting ready for a a baby to come. And then also we have antenatal clinics for expectant mothers at our clinic. But again, getting somebody to come from a rural village to pay $1 for a motorcycle to take them there is a hard sell. So we do the best we can with our rural mobile clinics of teaching them what needs to be done getting ready for a baby. Here's a statistic I brought, that 80% of children who are born at home in Nigeria have complications. The mothers have some kind of complication in childbirth. About 1% of children born in Nigeria, 1,000 out of every 100,000 people, the baby dies in childbirth. 1,000 out of every 100,000, so 1%. To give that perspective, in the United States, 23 children out of every 100,000 people dies in childbirth. So 1,000 versus 23. So it's a huge problem. And so what usually happens in these rural, again, it requires a motorcycle trip over a very bad road to go to see a doctor when you are this big pregnant, and if you got 3 other little ones there. It's a tough calculation to make the decision to get on a motorcycle and go to the clinic to have your baby. So most of them opt to have their baby at home. And in the villages, there is in every village an older woman usually who has helped with many childbirths over many years. And a friend of mine who's a doctor from Nigeria tells me some of these women are very good. They have no medical training at all, but they've just done this so many times. Some of them are very good, better than a trained doctor at delivering babies. However, some of them are very bad also. Wow. So and there's no telling what it's going to be until it happens, you know. And so, again, a lot of the women, by the time they realize that the childbirth is really going badly and the traditional midwife in the village is not able to help them, it's too late. You can't pile them on the back of a motorcycle and take them over bad roads to see a doctor. It's too late. And then also there's a very powerful cultural expectation that women are supposed to have their babies at home. You know, that's a very strong cultural norm there. And another very strong cultural norm is that women are supposed to have babies. That's how, for poor people in rural Africa, that's how a woman gets her status, by how many children she's had. And I don't think this is an exaggeration. For a woman who is not able to have children, it is like a gigantic curse on her, really. And she has no worth in that community if she's not able to have babies. That really determines the status of women in that part of the world, is your ability to produce children, you know. And it's very common for, if a woman is not able to get pregnant, it's very common for the husband to discharge her, divorce her, and find another woman who is able to give him children. Wow. And never does it enter into the man's mind that it might be his problem. That's totally not a subject of conversation. Yeah. So,
so he may marry over and over and over again and not have any children.
Right. But it's always the woman's fault. Really, I'm not making this up. This is true.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that you and I talked about earlier is that that the issues of getting medical care and people wanting to go to a clinic is not just a rural problem.
No, it's not. It
happens in the cities as well.
Right, and it's a different problem in the cities, or the towns, let's say, in this regard. In the towns, there are all kinds of doctor types. There are, again, the traditional healers, the medicine men, shamans, witch doctors, whatever you want to call them, babalaos, and they have their practice there. And again, if a doctor's going to cost you $1, the Babalao is going to cost you 25 cents. So you start with that, right? Then there are pharmacies and chemists who have little shops that sell medicine. A lot of times these are fake medicine or extremely watered down medicine, but they're sold. And so people go to them first. You can go to a pharmacy and say, I've got, malaria or whatever, and he'll just, okay, here's some malaria medicine. It's going to cost you something, but you don't have to talk to a doctor. You just go to the chemist, and the chemist goes on your word. I've got malaria. Okay, here's some malaria. So there's that. There are a lot of chemists or pharmacists and lab techs who have minimal training. And so people can't always distinguish between that person, well, he's a chemist, he must know what he's doing, and a doctor who's been trained the way doctors are trained, in the Western world. So that's a problem too. And then the whole worldview thing doesn't change. When you go from the village to the city, it doesn't mean your worldview changes much. So you still have those village ideas about a big thing in Nigeria is juju, which means that, juju is magic, So so-and-so has good juju, so-and-so give you the right incantation to get good juju for your illness or whatever. So it's a problem in the cities too. It's less of a problem in as much as it doesn't take you all day long to get to a doctor if you need to.
More convenient.
It's more convenient. They're easier to get to, but they still try to go through the traditional things first because they're less expensive. So.
Now, typically, where do the local doctors get trained? I mean, do they have universities like we do here?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do, and many of them. In any of the major cities, there's a medical school of some sort. So in northern Nigeria, the main medical school that I'm aware of, where almost every doctor I know of has been trained there, is in Jos, J-O-S. That's a major teaching city in northern Nigeria, and they have a pretty good medical school there, pharmacy school, nursing school, teaching hospital, so it's very good. Another one, and like I said, almost every doctor I know in Nigeria was trained there. So, and then in the other major cities, Abuja, Zaria, there's a big medical center there, Lagos, and all the major cities in the south, there are medical schools. The problem is that doctors are spread very thinly in Nigeria, very thinly. And another problem is the brain drain. So lots of doctors, if they can get out, they come to the United States, Canada, or UK. England.
So they get trained there.
Get trained there and then go somewhere else. Yeah, and get their they have to get recertified here. But the training is pretty good in Nigeria, from what I gather. And if you're a doctor there, you can be a doctor here with a little bit of, recertification and all that. But so that's another problem is doctors, can make a lot more money in the Western world than they can in Nigeria. Even the best of doctors don't make a lot of money there by our standards, by our way of calculating things. Yeah.
Now, do you see where people maybe come over here or go to your England or someplace else to be educated and then go back to Nigeria to practice their medicine?
Very few. Once they've been to the promised land, they don't want to go back to Egypt, to put it in biblical terms, And they see how it's the very dedicated doctors that want to go back there, very dedicated. And there are a bunch of them, but a lot more, when they come to the Western world, they stay in the Western world and go back for Christmas,
Visit family that's still over there.
Right. Yeah. Another huge problem in Nigeria is medical tourism. So I mentioned that there's a very small percentage of the population who are wealthy, or middle class to wealthy, and for any serious medical thing, they all go to London or Dubai or India to get serious surgery done because they don't trust the doctors there. Well, think about that. If a country's elite won't go to their own hospitals to get medical procedures done. The elite are the ones that are making the decisions about how well hospitals get funded, how well doctors are trained, and so on, all down the line. So it's kind of, if you don't believe in your own healthcare system and you're the ones that are making the decisions about how it gets funded, you're going to London to get your own problems taken care of. Well, are you going to pay so much attention to the healthcare system there? Probably not. Same with schools. If you send your kids off to private schools in London or wherever, are you going to be devoting many resources to public schools? Probably not, because it's not your problem, you see. That's another big issue there. So there's all kinds of problems. Oh, yeah. And so every time I go to Nigeria, which I go usually 2 or 3 times a year, and I've been there, going there for almost 20 years now, you go there and you just shake your head. Oh, well, there are so many problems. There are so many problems. But my own calling from God is to be a light in the midst of darkness. So you can either turn your face away from all the bad stuff going on in the world, or you can say, look, I feel that God has called me to do this particular little bit of good in this particular context, and is it going to fix every problem? No, it is not, but it's going to do something, and doing something's better than doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think the great thing about what you're doing, which is unique, is that the clinics that you have helped to start and fund over the years are there 365 days, open 365 days a year. And even though you bring the teams in periodically to assist and provide the free
and
services,
augment what we're doing.
Right. You do have something there all the time on the ground taking place.
Yes.
So I think that's wonderful. And I know it's just such a big help to those communities that are there. Yeah,
and part of what, when we do these free medical clinics, we don't want to do it too much, because too much gives the impression that, well, just hang on, I'm nearly dead, but the free clinic's coming 3 months from now.
Right.
So we don't want to do it too much. But what it does do is it helps to open the horizons up to more and more people. Okay, it's free. I can go here and get some help, and they're not bad guys, and they're not trying to hurt me. I know that. And so we hope that, okay, 3 months from now when we're not here, and your child is sick, you bring your child back to the same clinic because I know I can get some help there. So part of it's to overcome this fear and suspicion of hospitals and stuff like that, So.
Well, just to tell these viewers, in case they didn't see the previous interview, I know that a lot of people come during that time.
Turn my phone off.
During that time when you have that 1 week clinic. I mean, like thousands of people that come. And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with all that many people coming for a 1 week clinic?
Well, we deal with it the best we can. So it's kind of like a assembly line of people. It's quite a thing to behold when we do this. So we have different teams working in different areas, and so a lot of our volunteers help with crowd control. We have thousands usually we have twice as many people that show up for these things as we can help in any given day. So we have people at the front gate dealing with crowd control, and that requires soldiers, that requires people with guns, unfortunately, to keep the place from turning into a riot, because you have a very scarce, precious resource available, medical care, and a lot of people who want it, twice as many as you're going to see. So God bless the people who do that at the front. I don't do that at the front gate, because having a white person up there makes the riot 10 times worse than it would be otherwise. So we just stay away from the gate. So that's the first step, is we try to bring some order to the people that want it. Then we try to determine, we try to be fair about a proportion of old people, young people, children, anybody who's obviously in distress. We make an exception and get them through the line. You know, it's extreme distress, and there are lots of them. Get them through the line first. Once they come in, then we have a thing like Walmart. So the bad cops are out at the road. They have to be bad cops. They have to be tough. They have to tell people. Sometimes they have to push them. Sometimes, unfortunately, they have to whack them with a billy club or something because they're being so unreasonable. And that's rare, but it has to happen. So those are the bad cops out by the road. Then when we come in, they meet the good cops who say, "Hi, how are you? What's your name?" You know, kind of like they do at Walmart. You know, "You're welcome. We're happy you're here today." So that's the first thing. We try to get the bad taste out of their mouth of what happened at the gate. You know, everybody yelling and screaming and carrying on, and try to be nice to them and let them know we're there to serve them and we love them and we pray for them, and we. I usually work on that. I'm the good cop detail. So, what's wrong with you today? And we try to say, "Sanu mama, hello mama, how are you doing? Yakiki, how are you doing today? How's the family? How's the yara? How's the children? How's the yali, the family?" And try to get them to see we're not their enemies, we're their friends. And I usually pray with them right then and there for whatever's wrong with them, And then, so that's the first part. Then the next thing we do is we have them go right from there. We fill out a little form, what their name is and what their problem is. And then they go to the next place, which is a health talk, a basic health talk. Before they see any doctor, we give them a talk in their language, their native language, usually Hausa, about basic health and hygiene things. We give them a handout, wash your hands. Don't, when you sneeze, go like this. When you cough, go like this. Basic stuff which helps prevent diseases. Boil your water. Here's how to boil water without a fire. You can have a glass in those little water bottles. If you put this, I never knew this till we went on these trips. If you take water in a water bottle, like the water bottles we drink out of,
yeah.
You put dirty water in that water bottle and leave it out in the sun for all day long, the water's sterilized. It might still taste a little rough, but it's sterilized. All the germs have been killed by the heat from the sun on that plastic bottle. I never knew that.
Interesting. I did not know that either.
And so we try to encourage that. We try to encourage people to do healthy practices with using the toilet. Don't just go anywhere. Have a hole in the ground, cover it, all that stuff. So that's the first thing that happens, is the health talk. Then the next thing that happens, we have usually it's a church building. We get a church building filled with people for the triage. Triage is take your blood pressure, your pulse, your temperature, and try to determine what your problem is as best we can. And whether you're urgent or what. And then the next thing is to send you to the consultants. And the consultants are doctors and senior nurses who then listen to your problems and make a prescription for further treatment. So if you need surgery, they'll refer you to surgery. If you need eye care, they'll refer you to the eye care clinic. If you need dentistry, they'll refer you to the dentist, and so on. Or they will prescribe medication. And we have usually as many doctors and nurses as we can that are lined up as teams there. And we have English-speaking medical professionals are always put with a native speaker because you have to know the language.
Sure.
Yeah. So from there, from the consulting area, then they go to either the pharmacy for the medication they've been prescribed, or to the eye doctor, the dentist, or surgery for another consult. So, and then we pray with them. Everybody gets prayer counseling before they leave the place. So we talk about what do you want to pray for in your family? Because we're ministering to the whole person, not just to the lump on your neck or malaria or something.
Right.
And we talk with them about God, and we talk about a relationship with God, and we talk about how God expects us to live in our families. And for example, when we have people who have venereal disease, of various kinds, whether it's AIDS or whether it's syphilis or gonorrhea or other things. Usually it's one person who comes with a complaint. And we explain it. If it's the wife, we explain to him, well, you know, this is not just a one-person problem, so we can give you the medicine for gonorrhea, let's say. But the minute you go home and have sex with your husband again, you're going to have it back. So could you please go and get your husband and bring him here so we can talk to him about this? And we bring the husband back. And sometimes it comes out in conversation that the husband's not just having sex with one person, but with three. Or maybe there are three wives, and maybe he's a truck driver and so stops at the truck stop. You know, there's all kinds of ways this play out. So we try as best we can, and this is an imperfect system, to have a conversation with everybody who's part of this problem, not just with one person, because that's just for example. Another example, child care and child health. You know, so we try to have conversations about how you can help certain things from happening again, and basic hygiene and stuff like that. So anyway, with that system we have, when we have 40 or 50 volunteers, we try to help as many people in a day as we can. Usually it's about, we have 40 or 50 people on the team. Usually help maybe about 500 to 600 people a day, something like
amazing.
that. Yeah, it is amazing when
amazing.
you consider it, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So how do you recruit your medical people from the United States?
Again, it's word of mouth, it's churches. That's, like I said, 95% of our people come from churches. They're nurses or doctors that are members of churches. They hear us talk in church. Or somebody who goes with us goes back to their own church. We always encourage you, go back and tell your church what you did on this medical trip, and take some pictures and show them pictures. And that's where almost all of our recruiting happens. And frankly, it's been a lot easier for us to get nurses to go than doctors. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is, I won't speculate, but it's nurses go more than doctors go.
Yeah. And what kind of doctors are you looking for? What kind of doctors?
Well, general medical practitioners, surgeons are what we really need.
Okay.
Surgeons can do. One of our doctors surgeons who has gone numerous times, he's a surgeon at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, and he specializes in head and neck surgeries there. And so what he does when he goes, he not only does the surgery, but he spends a couple hours every morning teaching Nigerian doctors how to do the complicated surgeries that he does. And he comes with his laptop so that he can show them everything he does. So he wants to not just do surgeries and help the 50 people he's going to do surgery on that week, but he can help 10 doctors upgrade their skills so they can help that many more people with surgery over the, all the time he's not there. So
yeah. Great. What about specialized, like ophthalmologists and dentists? You mentioned that earlier.
Yes. So there's a need for eye doctors, ophthalmologists, and optometrists to go. We always have a very extensive eye clinic there. We buy the glasses there. So we have the traditional tests, only without all the big things that you're used to in an eye doctor here. So the eye doctors there have a simple little mechanism. It's a pair of glasses with the dials on them, so you all know from the eye doctor, okay, what's better, this or this, this or this. So they do their eye test that way based on this very simple, I don't know what you'd even call it, a very simple machine you wouldn't call it, but a very simple piece of equipment.
Apparatus.
Apparatus, which helps them determine, this eye is weak, this eye is strong, nearsighted, farsighted, whatever. So they write all that down, and then they match up the eye test they've just done with the glasses we already have in stock. Weak right eye, strong left eye, that's what you need. So they match up. In other words, it would be economically impossible or logistically impossible to grind glasses, especially for each one of these people. So we just try to match up as best we can the glasses we have with the diagnosis we have. So we always need eye doctors and optometrists and ophthalmologists. And we have a very good team from a local teaching hospital that comes and helps us every year on this event.
Right.
Also, dentists. I'm right now speaking with a dentist who's a member of my church in Wethersfield who really wants to go, and we're looking into getting the equipment we need to run a dental drill over there. So we're looking to purchase a generator and a air compressor and all the hoses required and a dental chair so that he can do fillings and all that stuff over there. So that's right now, as we speak, we're working on those plans.
Great.
And if any dentists are watching us out there, we want you to come and join us on these missions.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I hope to come and join you one day.
I hope you will too.
That would be great. So as far as funding,
Yeah.
you know, we talked about the banquet a little bit that you do, but how can people help you as far as funding?
They can send money. So let me just give you an example.
Okay.
For when we do these medical outreaches in the summertime, when we do the one week clinics, we provide medicine so this past April, we did 3 weeks in 3 different places. One week in 3 different places, so 3 weeks altogether. In those 3 weeks, we helped 8,000 people, I think it was, something like that. And we raised funds for, I believe it was $17,000 for medicine for those 3 weeks, something like that. Anyway, it came out to $2.33 per person for all the people we helped, 8,000 people. $2.33. So for anybody listening out there, okay, this is how you, your group of friends, your Bible study group, your church group, your whoever, a group of 10 friends, if you did a little fundraising event and you raised $233, you would be helping 100 people with medical care. If you raised $2,333 or whatever it is, you would help 1,000 people with medical care. You see? So I like to put it in little chunks like that. For $2.33, you can help one person. In some cases, save that person's life. That's what you can do. It's less than the cost of a cup of coffee. So that's one thing.
Amazing.
A church, my former church, they do a concert every year. They raise, this year, $10,000 for these outreaches just to pay for the medicine, you know? So it costs us about, I believe it's, to run the medical clinic all year long, it costs us about, I believe it's $4.50 or thereabouts per person for everybody we serve. $4.50 per person. Some of these people, you're saving their life for $4.50. So anybody can raise $4.50 if they want to, right?
That's right.
It's a cup of coffee. If you put $4.50 a week away every week for 52 weeks, what does that come out to? That comes out to, I'm not good at math.
I would need my calculator for that.
I think it's $2,000 a year. Is that right? Does that sound right? $4 a week? Let's say $5 a week times 50. No, that's $250 a year, right? I think. Something like that.
I don't know.
Anyway, whatever it is, however much it is, you can help a person get medical care for $4.50. Think about that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And think about the way you could, a friend of mine who's a school teacher, she started this great ministry in South Africa, teaching school teachers to teach better. And somebody asked her, how did you do it? How did you get started? She said, I just went to my Christmas card list. Everybody's got a Christmas card list. 100 people, 200 people, you send a Christmas card. I went to my Christmas card list and wrote them a letter and asked them for money, and they gave it to me. And that's how she's been doing it ever since for like 15 years with a Christmas card list. Everybody's got a list of Christmas cards or whatever. Everybody's got a list of friends on Facebook or whatever. Everybody's got a church you belong to, or a Lions Club you belong to, or a Rotary Club you belong to, or something. A group of friends that if you wanted to, you could make a gigantic difference by raising $4.50 a week for a year, times 10 people, you know?
Yeah. That's fabulous.
Gigantic difference.
Fabulous.
And then if you really want to make a difference, you can fund a clinic. One of our clinics costs, staffing for the clinic, $20,000 per year. That's for one doctor, 3 or 4 nurses, a midwife, a lab tech, and a pharmacist. $20,000 a year. Think about that. So those of you out there in TV land, if you would like to give us $20,000 a year, we could fund a whole clinic for $20,000.
That's great.
Or if you'd like to build a clinic in memory of your mother, your wife, your husband, or somebody you love, or just because, that's about $50,000 a year. It's not a lot of money when you think of the thousands upon thousands of people you will help over the next 25 years.
Great.
So
That's
there you
great.
go.
And then the mobile units, how much do they cost to send those out or to?
That's just all part of our regular clinic. Our regular doctors do that, and that's part of their job description is to go out. Well, however, they do need a 4-wheel drive vehicle to get out there. So a couple years ago, somebody gave us $20,000, and that's the 4-wheel drive vehicle. It's a pickup truck with the extra seats in it. They put all the medicine in the back of the pickup truck. It's got 4-wheel drive, so they can get over those rotten roads to get out to these villages. So that's what that $20,000 does.
And you have one medical mobile unit right now?
Well, two.
Two
in 2 different places.
Two in different places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Using 2 different trucks. One of which we bought, one of which somebody else bought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Well, is there anything else that that you would like to share? Any other thoughts that we've not touched on that that you'd like to share with our viewers today?
Well, I guess I would just like to conclude by saying that we're always looking for people to join us on these missions, and we're always looking for people to donate. The whole thing runs on donations. In our particular case, you hear these stories about charities where the CEO of the charity makes $200,000 a year and stays at 5-star hotels and flies first class and all that stuff. In our particular case, the CEO, that's me, makes 0 for salary. I pay for all my own expenses out of my own pocket, airfare and hotels. 97% of every dollar that people give us for medicine goes for doctors, nurses, medical personnel, medicine, or building medical clinics. 97%. So money always helps. And you can do an enormous amount of good with a very small amount of money by American standards. Also, we want to encourage people to come and join us. When you come and meet these people we're helping, you fall in love with them, and once you fall in love, you're stuck. I fell in love with these beautiful children 16 years ago, and I've not fallen out of love yet. It's a love thing, you know? So I keep going back because I love them. And I'll also say Nigeria is not the only place in the world where people are hurting. They're hurting all over. You don't have to look very far. And if you don't want to go to Africa or Haiti or South America, you can go to places in the United States where people are hurting and broken. The thing is, just find everybody can do some good for somebody in this world. Just find what it is that you're called to do and do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
To borrow a phrase from a certain
That's right.
sneaker manufacturer.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, Father Tom, you want to tell our viewers again how they can contact or find out more about
Yes. So
the
you
website?
can go to our website, www.Kateri Clinic, Kateri clinic.org, katericlinic.org. And there you will find lots of information about everything we do and how you can help us either by joining as a volunteer or by sending money, which goes a long way. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Paula.
You're
It's
welcome.
been great talking to you.
Thank you. I'm Paula Sorrells-Bean for the Nonprofit World. Thank you for joining us today. I encourage you to find your passion and make a difference in someone's life today.
Amen.